The purpose of this video is to show people what professional collision technicians do to cut cars apart. Specific emphasis is going to be on spot weld drilling, but also the cutting of metal. We want to show some of the common types of cutters. This particular one is probably the most common. It's a pilot point. What's nice about it is it goes into standard drills. They're not expensive, either a pneumatic or electric, and they cut very well. They're designed to cut through one layer without cutting through the back layer. We'll give a demonstration. Takes a little bit of feel to know whenever you get through the one layer, you definitely want to stop at that point. Another common type is very similar. We're going to grab it real quick. Instead of a pilot point, this specific one has a spur point. The advantage of it is it does do a little less penetration into the underlying panels. The downside is they don't seem to hold up as long, and they're a little harder to drill, but we'll demonstrate. Cut very well. Okay, the next system we're going to show, not quite as popular, but it's the Blair road approach style. And what it basically is a very small hole cutter, and it has a centering pin. You're supposed to take a little punch and put a little dent, a divot, so that it holds. I'm going to try to get this one started right here. Just to make sure I got it all. Okay, and again, the purpose is to drill through one layer while not going through the back layer. Another tool that's common in collision shops are the specialty spot welding drills. This particular one is made by Fix-A-Dent, Dent Fix, or Spitznagels, referred to as a German company. They're expensive, they do a nice job. The advantage of them is they take the strength out of the arm. It basically pulls the cutter into the weld. They cut very well. They're adjustable in depth. I'm going to go a little deeper on this one. The only downside really is the expense. Also, the weld has to be near an edge. If not, you have to remove the C-clamp, and then you can use it as a normal drill. It's a little heavy and cumbersome, but for around apertures, along rocker panels, works very well. Another method that's used is actually grinding of a weld, and there's different ways of doing that. One is just a small cutoff tool with the wider cutoff wheel, and it's basically used as a grinder. It's fairly effective, we'll show. As you can see, the downside to this, of course, it destroys the part you're removing, so you can't reuse parts once you cut them apart like this. Another grinding method, which many of the technicians use, are belt grinders. They're very similar to the cutoff wheel. They're very fast. There it goes, that belt, but I think we got through. That's one of the problems. The belts don't hold up as long as the drill bits do, but it's very fast. But again, you could not reuse this outer piece once you do that. I'm going to show a couple more. Just to finish this panel up, and I'll locate. I'm back to the pilot style. that's all of them. Okay, and so then lastly, you're going to have to trim. I'm going to show several of the different ways that we cut. I'll demonstrate just a simple cut-off wheel. Very effective, very cost-effective, very fast, but kind of throws a lot of sparks, so you got to be careful of that. Demonstrate how people use some of the mini saws. They're a little slower. Then one last tool that is often used in body shops is a sawzall with a metal cutting blade. I'll demonstrate that. I'll finish up with the little saw just for detail. And then the last step is to use a thin bladed chisel, such as this one. And then you just basically separate any little bit of the weld that didn't get cut or possibly caulking or something, and this separates the panel. Now you can see all the methods work. There is destruction to the grinding. If the piece is going to be thrown away, doesn't make that much of a difference. You can also see the different levels of penetration. All of the drills are pretty good, and these are some of the many methods that are used. We just need to add one additional detail to this video, and it has to do with some of the harder steels used in automobiles today that really are problematic. And you need to understand that some of the steels today are ultra high strength. Some are referred to as boron steel, which the normal drilling methods just will not work on. What we've done, we've attached a very small piece of boron steel to our test panel here, and we're just going to demonstrate some of the drills that drill so well on the standard steel, and then we're going to see how it works on this small piece of boron. We're going to start with that pilot point. It's a high-speed steel drill. This is an entry-level spot weld cutter, and it is heat treated. It's made in the USA, and we're going to go ahead and see if we can drill this boron steel. Okay, you can see that after quite a bit of attempt and drilling, barely dented it. Basically, you'll destroy the bit if you continue on. I'm going to show you the other bit that we use. This is that little spur point drill. This is actually a harder bit. It's a cobalt bit. It's made in Germany. It's about twice the expense of that high-speed steel drill, but let's see how it does with the boron. Again, it's just barely cutting the E-coat. again, you'll destroy an expensive bit trying to cut these ultra high strength steels or the boron steels. Now, a suggestion that we give people all the time is, instead of destroying your bits, use a cheap 1/8 inch double-ended. This is a made in the USA high-speed steel, and you can use it as a probe, and basically you test the steel before you start destroying bits. And so we'll try to drill this with this 1/8 inch bit. And a dent. That's about it. So now you know that that's hard steel, and so you have to use different methods to cut that apart. Some of the ways that this is done, of course, you could use the grinding methods. Use a high quality belt grinder belt, or the little cutoff wheel that we demonstrated earlier. There is one drill that will drill it. We've got to tell you some of the warnings about it. It's very expensive. It goes in the very expensive drill. It's actually a solid carbide bit, and it has a special coating to help strengthen it even more than the carbide. And it will drill this. The downside is the expense, needing the specialty drill. And there's a rule with drill bits: the harder they are, the more brittle they are. So this bit will break very easily. But let's go ahead and see if it will cut this hard piece of boron steel. And as you can see, it drills it quite easily. So if you absolutely must drill these harder steels, that's the only thing that will drill it. You just have to use a lot of caution. You want to control your RPMs. Some people say to use lube, some people use it dry. You definitely don't want to put the lube or any cutting paste on when the bit is hot, because that can crack the bit. Another thing, that one of the reasons why bits break is when you break through the back panel. And bear in mind, your desire is not to break through, but whenever it starts to go through, sometimes it'll snag a corner of the bit, and that can cause the bit to break. So just by using caution, using the proper tools for the proper material that you're trying to cut, if in doubt that you don't know the steel that you're cutting, use that little cheap 1/8 inch bit. Sometimes the hard steel are inner layers, and you can figure that out by probing. If the outer layer is soft, it'll drill, but then whenever it hits the inner layer, it stalls. That will tell you that that inner piece of steel is one of those ultra high strength or boron steels. We hope this has been helpful. The purpose of our video is to help individuals to be able to deal with these different issues in cutting cars apart. And if you have a minute, visit our web store where we sell many of these products that we've been demonstrating. That's www.spotweldcutter.com, and we'll have a link in the comments. Thank you.